Thank you. All right. So Scott Adams died today from cancer at the age of 68. People know him from Dilbert, one of the most successful cartoons of all time. I never read it. I knew nothing about Scott Adams until like 2015 when I started reading his blog, and he was basically the only person that was saying Trump was going to win the presidency. And he said he was talking about it in a way that I'd never heard before. He was using the filter of persuasion, not about truth and not about falsehood, but about persuasiveness. And he said this guy was not only going to get the nomination, he was going to win. And nobody took it seriously, but he risked everything. He lost so much of his work. He was a syndicated columnist. He ended up losing a lot of papers. He later lost his book publishing, but he stuck to his guns. I've been in this business for 15 years and at Fox, and my career didn't change, literally did not change dramatically until I ran into Scott Adams. He became my mentor. The stuff that you hear me talk about a lot when I'm on this show and on the Five is because I get up in the morning and I listened to Coffee with Scott Adams. Probably the best morning show ever. Sorry, Fox and Friends. And it was because it wasn't a show. It was just him in his home. And the reason why it was so good was that he was your friend, and he would sit there and he had his cat and he would just talk about the stuff, but he would give you a filter into everything. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because if you aren't aware of this monumental person, that it sounds like it's hyperbole, it is not. This guy changed public policy. There are people in the White House that are grieving right now over him. There are people who are related to Trump who thank him for helping them understand their parent. It's incredible. So, there's a lot of things you don't know about him. And you may never know anything about him because he never bragged about it. But he had such an impact on this world that, to me, it's like surreal that he's no longer in my life. He was the most important intellectual figure that I've had in my lifetime, and I've been lucky to have more than a few. Michael, you've had him on your show 3 times. Tell me about your relationship with him. And
well, I mean, those morning coffees that he did, a couple of times he said, I'm really funny. Yeah. People should follow my Twitter. So when someone like Scott Adams validates you in that way, it really kind of like, oh, maybe I'm doing something right. Because otherwise on the internet, all you get is hate, hate, hate. What he also did, he had this book, which I will recommend to everyone, called Reframe Your Brain.
It's amazing.
And I'll give you, so how this book is if you have an idea that's in your head, you reframe it and everything changes. And what he had is, the regular framework is, you should do the best at your job. The reframe is, your job is to find a better job, which what Kat is doing right now.
Yeah.
It's only up from here. But point being, if you think about it in that terms, like, wait a minute, I'm not trying to be stuck at this desk for 5 years. I'm trying to be stuck at this desk until something better comes along. And just that one sentence changes how you look at everything. So his advice, thank you, from that one person like Scott, his advice wasn't just political. It was very much as someone from a very corporate background, which is what Dilbert was about. Maybe you should read it sometime. Mm-hmm. It was very much about how you can maximize your life.
Yeah.
And when you see someone whose flame burns that bright succumb, it's hard.
Yeah.
And he wasn't that old.
Yeah, I know.
And he fought like a tiger for the end.
Yeah, he was. He did his last show yesterday and then died this week. He was going to do a show today, and then he told his caretaker, he goes, I'm going to die today. And he died. He couldn't, but he wanted to do a show. The job thing is really interesting because he helped me. He made me, I've been fired 3 times. And he asked me at one point, he goes, after you got fired, did your life get better or worse? Right. And I go, it got better.
Yeah.
And he goes, the people, when they get fired, think it's the worst, but it never is.
It's like that breakup with someone you shouldn't have been with to begin with.
Yes.
Like, I'm free now.
And he has a great framework for when you do get fired or when you get broken up. It was a great frame. Like, let's say you ask a girl out or a guy out, in your case, Kennedy, or both.
Okay.
Oh, I'm now bisexual. How exciting.
It's the glasses. It's the glasses.
And the person says no. And it can really hurt your ego unless you say, oh, it's just not a good fit. And that was his framework. It was that whenever you get rejected, whether it's you don't get a job or the girl, it's, oh, it obviously wasn't a good fit. And it just lifts this incredible thing off you. Did you know Scott at all?
Yeah, I had him on my former Fox Business show before, and he was great. Like, this is someone, and I always love those non-traditional thinkers. They're people who can never be put into a certain category because they're undefinable, and they're undefinable because they are constantly pulling the world apart and looking at it from different angles and putting it back together. And it's very uncomfortable for people because they want to see the world one way, and they want the world to be black and white and very simple. And he was a person who looked at a complex world and simplified it for people. And he did that through systems. Like, he was a big believer in systems.
Systems, not goals.
Yes.
Like, if you,
right.
it's not enough to have a goal.
That was one of his famous quotes.
Yes.
Losers have goals, winners have systems. And it's a very profound thing. And when you can get out of that and look at the world and operate in a systems-oriented world, you will engage much more successfully. But I want to know from you, when was the last time you talked to him? And I want to know a little bit about the conversation you and Dr. Drew had with Scott.
Well, I talked to him on Sunday. I went on his show, but at that point, he was so drugged up. He was just, and so we would text. I told him I loved him, and he hearted it, and I just been texting back and forth. But it was getting harder and harder for him to talk because the amount of cancer drugs that he was on to deal with the pain in it was. But he was mentally there, but he just couldn't, But I told him that I loved him, and I talked to. It's just amazing. And he had this other concept, Tyrus, that I think describes you. He invented the phrase talent stack. He said that you don't have to be super great at one thing to achieve. It's better to be good. If you're good at a bunch of things, the combination of them makes you unlike anybody else. So being great physically, but also being eloquent and funny and developing public speaking, all of a sudden you're Tyrus.
Yep.
You're not just this athlete. And it's like his idea of talent stack, everybody should be thinking about.
He, to me, is the ultimate alpha male.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will look at his stature and be like, what are you talking about? It's not about his bench press, but the way he led his life as a man. It's very hard to be a narrator on the human condition without getting emotionally involved. And to me, he was a narrator for this time. When we look back in history, they will call him a scholar because he was able to talk about things. You never saw him fired up. He never got personal because he was just telling it like it is. And it's not an easy thing to do. Now, I got a chance a couple times to get a chance to talk with him in the green room when he was on this show, and he blew my mind because I knew who he was from Dilbert.
Yeah.
But when he said, Tyrus, I'm a fan, people say that because usually there's a 6'8" monster saying, oh, I'm a huge fan. But it wasn't just that. But then he was like, the way he talks to you, it goes from a conversation to all of a sudden there's this learning tree.
Yeah.
And everything he says, you don't understand it then. He's one of those guys when you walk 10 feet away from him, you're like, oh, hey, come back here. Because he plants seeds in your head. He doesn't push. He's never going to tell you, think my way or you're stupid. He's going to present you, and you take from it what you want. And if you don't want anything, that's fine. But it will still be here. And that's a rare thing to do. And especially when an entire half of the country, mainstream, went out of the way to destroy him because they misunderstood him, because they looked at it just like they look at me, and they think thug, bunch of baby. They look at me, and they see my big stature, and they think I'm dumb. They look at him, and they think he's weak, and they can pick on him. And they couldn't pick the right thing. They went after him in ways. They took away his life, his art form. They took away but they never, ever silenced his voice. And that is hard to do without cracking, without giving into something, without reacting one day at the supermarket and punching somebody because of he had the world coming down on him. And all he did was presented. He was like a scientist. Here's a theory. And he was doing it in a time where it was about feelings and selfish, and that's the one thing he never was. And I appreciate the time I was with him. He gave me an autographed copy of one of his books, And when he asked for mine, I was like, it's like watercolors to Picasso, bro. And he was like, but he was like, no, I'm a big fan.
Jamie, you were a regular listener, right, of his thing?
Yeah, and I'll keep it pretty short. And I remember the only time I met Scott Adams, he came over and he said, I'm a big fan of Tyrus. And he, like, real quickly, but sincerely, like, you introduced me to coffee with Scott Adams, and I grew up not having anyone that gave me advice. Like, I didn't have anybody in my family that gave me advice, and so I would look to books and people like that, and Scott Adams was like the number one, and like Michael said, sometimes you could hear, he would say one thing. There's this thing, Greg, it's called Meaning Wave, and somebody put Scott Adams, like, words to music, and I've been listening to it for months. Just
Yeah,
on
Akira
repeat.
the Dawn.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's like it's these songs. It's just his songs, all the framings against like electronic music. It's incredible.
It's incredible. And the one thing I always remember is he said it's about the reframing. He said whenever you're having like a horrible day and things keep going wrong and worse and wrong, like as you the way you described my life in the introductions.
Yeah.
He says you say to yourself, the universe owes me.
Yeah.
The universe owes me. And I think of that multiple times a day. And
Yeah.
so that's why
Could I say something real quick? I want everyone to think about this. Everyone knows never when you're going to go. He knew it was his last day, and he went with a smile on his face.
Yeah.
I only hope I can go out like that.
Yeah. No. True to the service nature of Scott, he was teaching us how to live, and his last thing was to teach us how to die, which is amazing.
Class dismissed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Thanks, you guys.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.